This is reposted.
Today we're looking at a quote from John of the Mountains, also known as the father of the national parks, also known as John Muir. This is from a letter that he was writing to his wife, Sarah. He says, "The mountains are calling, and I must go, and I will work while I can, studying incessantly." I think this is pretty obvious on the surface level of the mountains being beautiful and being drawn to them, but I think that applies to other parts of life. You're drawn, I think, to your neighborhood. You want to live on a specific block in San Francisco. Are you called to that area? Do you have anything that draws you?
I think the calling is an interesting thing, right? Because people on peyote often think that they're called to do something, and maybe that's the drugs talking. I feel like I'm sort of drawn to my neighborhood. I hate to use the word calling. It's funny you say that, though, in regards to it completely random. I have this practice where I go out on my step every morning and try to just reset the day, sort of like the Navajo Indians used to do. And I was looking out and I saw this giant tree. And I was like, I have never seen that tree before. Never, ever. I've seen it probably, and I didn't pay attention to it. I was like, how fitting. John Muir saw these beautiful mountains in the Sierras and said, like, I'm going to do everything I can to live there and protect them. And in this quote, work for them.
What time do you do that in the morning? I know you wake up early, and I don't think that's the first thing you do.
It's not the first thing I do, but I try to do it on the earlier side as like this daily practice of welcoming in the day. So it's one of the first things I do.
Yeah, I think I can look back and say I think it's easy to say, "Oh, I was drawn to it because I did something and it was positive." I went to school in Colorado, and in all honesty, it wasn't a deep, well thought out idea, but maybe looking back, I can say I was drawn to the mountains because I love being there. And I think it's it's just a beautiful place to be. Being pulled into nature, whether or not you're being called in there, I think is something everyone should try to experience.
No, and I think there's kind of twofold thing going on with John Muir. He originally was going to walk from like I don't know somewhere in the northeast down to the Gulf of Mexico, and
Mm.
something happened, and he ended up just kind of his heart was telling him or drawing to him to Yosemite. He truly that region was truly drawing him there. And I just like, what is it in my life that's like drawing me to something? Maybe I don't have that. John Muir is obviously like an exceptional human being. So I'm not going to compare myself to him. Maybe he was just in tuned with the universe way better than I am. But like the letters that he writes, the life that he lead, it's like a love story to nature. And it's like, I mean, just think of like if you could, we talked about legacy a little while ago. It's like his legacy is loving the Sierras, like loving Yosemite. That seems pretty good to me.
I think going back to what you said about being in tuned, like with what he wanted, he had a lot less distractions in life. And so maybe it's more important now than ever to like go out on your stoop first thing in the morning and be quiet and think about what's important to you and be drawn to that, because it's easy to have external factors being like, "Hey Larry, you should work more on your golf game, or you should work more on whatever," and then you feel like you're being drawn to that, but that's not necessarily your desire. I think people need to be able to understand for themselves what they want. I've definitely fallen trapped to doing what I felt like I should be doing.
Yeah, yeah. And just the other thing for John Muir is right. It was really easy for him. He just went something like he had to raise a bunch of money or do a bunch. He literally just went to the mountains and lived there and started writing things down. Like, wasn't a lot of barriers for him.
Right. How did you end up in San Francisco? That was a
Uh,
job, or did you just decide
yeah.
one day that you were going to go there?
No, I took a job. I took a job.
So you weren't sitting saying, "Oh,
No, I was definitely saying I was at this point in my life where I was like, I will go anywhere. I was in broadcasting. I was sending tapes out across the country, and I was literally just waiting to be like, where am I going to go? And then this job came up, and I was like, I guess I'm going to Northern California.
yeah." I think also that that's a testament to being able to hear like what's calling you, because a lot of times people I've had a lot of friends be like, "Oh, no opportunities are coming up and nothing's going my way." And you're like, "Well, what about this job offer?" And people turn things down. Like, I think being willing to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and moving with what is happening in your life can be a positive experience as well.
For sure. But I just want to put this point with this quote today. I was kind of studying John Muir and his passion clearly was Yosemite in the valley, but it came with heartbreak, right? He was totally against the Hetch Hetchy getting dammed, which is where San Francisco gets their water. And he loved the valley, as we know, and he had to watch that valley get dammed and sort of ruined from a naturist perspective. I mean, it must have been like heartbreaking. He gave his life to that area. And so when you are called to something, there's going to be heartbreak associated with it.
Yeah, I think if you have that much love or devotion to a certain thing, that you're a lot more vulnerable to
Yeah.
seeing changes happen to it. And something as vast as nature
Yeah,
is like hard to fully put yourself into or expose yourself to vulnerabilities.
for sure. For sure.
Well, if you want to go out to a mountain, call Larry. You can find us at Reposted Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm Andrew Keller for 1-800-COLLECT saying, thanks for stopping by.